In the weird and wonderful world of WWE, there is nothing in the entire company as exalted as the WrestleMania main event. In the same way stars from other sports are talked about as future captains of their country, future Grand Slam champions, or future breakout rap stars, there is no bigger prediction for a wrestler than a future WrestleMania main eventer. You'd think then that the company would reserve this slot for the absolute best match they were going to do that year, but no, obviously, of course they don't. In fact, sometimes they don't even save it for the best match they're going to do that night. My name is Adam Cleary, and these are 7 matches that should have main evented WrestleMania. Number 7, The Rock vs. Hollywood Hogan, WrestleMania 18. The idea that WrestleMania should always close with a world title match is a complete fallacy. I mean, after all, the WWE Championship has survived the reigns of Jinder Mahal and Vince McMahon. It can survive going on second last. Its prestige is permanent, but if there's one thing that can maybe take the shine off it, it's booking the World Heavyweight title to follow a match which simply cannot be followed. A lengthy upper mid-card match, which is well received by an enthusiastic crowd, is far less damaging than a paper main event watched with eyes half open, and that is exactly what we got at WrestleMania 18. The Rock versus Hollywood Hogan was always going to generate a nuclear reaction. That was obvious from the very moment they booked it, even if Hogan's nostalgia-driven face turn wasn't. Conversely, Triple H and Jericho worked hard, yes, but the combination of a knackered audience, a champion lacking in any real credibility, and a frankly piss-poor preceding program combined to make apathy. Look, if Lawrence Taylor can headline Over the Gold, it's safe to say that The Rock and Hulk Hogan probably can as well. Number 6, Bobby Lashley vs. Umaga, WrestleMania 23. After the Rumble prior had shown that John Cena might finally understand this whole selling thing, he chose the main event of WrestleMania to completely disregard it all and toss away Michael's excellent and protracted limb work. Fire up the WWE Network and watch the ending of WrestleMania 23. John Cena stands in the ring at the end knowing full well he has dropped a massive bollock by giving us a very, very underwhelming ending to what should have been an all-time classic match. Now some will say Taker and Batista should have headlined, and yes, the stakes behind their match were of considerably higher importance, and yes, their feud actually resembled a feud, but elsewhere on the card, WWE had an opportunity to craft an ending of iconic visual poetry. Had Mania ended with Vince's grand humiliation at the hands of Donnie Trump, which was, let's not forget, the premise on which they sold it to a record number of buyers, then we'd have got the sight of his big bald bonce shining under a WrestleMania sign. Yeah, the match itself isn't great, but ending the show on that visual is just this wonderful acknowledgement that his greatest creation had, thanks to so many performers, finally outgrown him. Number 5, The Undertaker vs. Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 25. Triple H is a man immune from karma. You know this, I know this, Julie Hart certainly knows this, but he did get a little slice of it at WrestleMania 25. The Undertaker vs. Shawn Michaels was never not going to be a classic. I mean, the guys mastered Hell in a Cell at the very first attempt in 1997 and had spent the entire year prior showing that they still had this amazing in-ring chemistry together. It was, as we all know, a f***ing classic, and an influential classic at that. It was like a wonderful fusion of psychology and physicality performed by 2 of the greatest ever on the company's biggest show. Triple H vs. Orton was not a classic, and it was never going to be a classic. They wandered through a 23-minute slog that was somehow in complete defiance of their own hysterically violent storyline. They virtually had a blood feud going in the build-up to this match, so absolutely nobody wanted to see one of them just out-wrestle the other. And I mean, especially not after they'd seen, well, what they'd just seen. Number 4, Shawn Michaels vs. Diesel, WrestleMania 11. For a celebrity match, that wasn't half bad, is the alternative slogan for WrestleMania 11, which was a mostly terrible event boasting just one excellent caveat-free match. Shawn Michaels vs. Diesel for the WWF Heavyweight title. Excellent though it was, at least in the frenetic opening half, Diesel had absolutely all left in the tank by the second because Michaels, in full Shawn Michaels mode, wanted to show everybody that the showstopper should have stopped it. How did he do this? Well, he worked a frankly lunatic pace that he knew fine well his much bigger, in real life best friend would not be able to keep up with. Because he was being a prick. Had he been afforded the privilege of closing the show, then this flawed classic might well have become a full-on classic and given the scores of NFL casuals who tuned in for the main event a reason to actually care about the company. But now, I'm not saying that Lawrence Taylor is somehow to blame for the ills of the new generation, but this match not headlining is so symptomatic of the fact that Vince just didn't trust his new stars at the time, which is obviously fine because it's not like they had an impending war with WCW or anything. Number 3, Ric Flair versus Randy Savage, WrestleMania 8. Now, obviously, the WWF did not plan on Papa Shango spectacularly missing his cue in the main event, even though they had a light to show him the way because a wrestler needs a light to get down the ramp. But whatever, miss his cue he did. Anyway, Shango's historic botch notwithstanding, Hogan versus Sid Justice was, for the tens of thousands there and the hundreds of thousands watching, already a bit of a letdown. As the match reached its midpoint, it became obvious that this was, as so many had feared, simply a by-the-numbers Hogan versus Monster match. Now, I thought it was brilliant, personally, but I was like 3 or 4 at the time, so the f*** did I know? Now, yes, the climactic visual of the Ultimate Warrior returning was incredibly exciting, but not the exhaustive stuff of an epic wrestling match. The crowd would have had plenty of energy left for the contest that should have main evented. WWF Champion Ric Flair versus Randy Savage. Look, ultimately, Hulk Hogan wasn't going to stick around. The WWF Heavyweight title was. And since Savage was a comparable draw in 1988, there was little risk of the Hulkster overshadowing him. I mean, especially when he did bot but sell for like 10 minutes. Number 2, CM Punk versus The Undertaker, WrestleMania 29. Just to reiterate, the notion that tradition dictates that a heavyweight title match must close out WrestleMania is a complete fallacy. The belt wasn't even defended at the first ever WrestleMania, so there's no f***ing tradition to begin with. Another fallacy, though, is that nobody cared about the Rock versus John Cena program. Like, that's objectively untrue. Thanks to the network, WrestleMania 28 will probably forever remain the most ordered pay-per-view in the company's history, and that's in large part down to its main event. But that said, we all know it wasn't the casual audience that was packed into the MetLife Stadium, was it? Relegating the title twice in as many years would have triggered an intriguing question amongst the audience, and that question is, why is CM Punk versus The Undertaker going on last? And the only logical answer to that is, he's beating the streak. As great as CM Punk versus The Undertaker was anyway, this little added swerve would have just added something extra to the presentation and really made it one of the all-time classic matches in the streak. Plus, if nothing else, it would have allowed fans to just enjoy Rock versus Cena as a wrestling match and rather as a tedious inevitability. You might even say that WrestleMania 29 was as much a victim of sequencing as it was of sequel apathy. Who wrote this? Number 1, Bret Hart versus Yokozuna, WrestleMania 9. In early 1993, Hulk Hogan did a Hulk Hogan by convincing Vince McMahon to give Hulk Hogan another run at the top. Brother? This manifested itself in the main event of WrestleMania 9 when the Hulkster defeated Yokozuna in a match that made every single person involved look stupid. Hogan looked nothing like a hero. Yokozuna and Mr. Fuji looked like a pair of absolute biscuits for accepting Hogan's slightly racist challenge, and Bret Hart looked like a complete div for just cheering him on. Basically just watching on and shouting, "Yay! Hogan, please take my spot! Yay!" Idiot. Hogan's subsequent run at the top was then obviously not a run at all, unless you count not appearing on Raw once and shitting all over the belt in Japan as a run, which I don't. Hogan's Hollywood aspirations were simply incompatible with WWF at the time, who really needed a mainstay talisman to hold the belt whilst, at the same time not being associated with that old-fashioned company image of them being a bit of a steroids factory. Can I say that? It took a full year for the top division to successfully recover after they basically just tried to reboot everything, and when they did, guess what main event they had at WrestleMania? Bret Hart versus Yokozuna. Oh, Vince. Oh, Vince. Oh, Vinny Vince. Anyway, yes, that was our list. Let us know what other matches should have main evented WrestleMania by leaving a comment below. And don't forget, you know the drill, to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, though, my name has been Adam Cleary for WhatCulture Wrestling, and I'll see you soon.
Hey guys, thanks for making it to the end of the video. Aren't you a star? Don't forget to subscribe below, and also the people who made this video, they're right here, so go and follow them and give them some love. If you want to see more content, there's probably some stuff flowing up above my head. Why not check it out? It could be fun. I'm not your dad.